We are Rogue Media Sports.
It is the Cam Show. We are back on this Monday. Colt Brennan Memorial Studio. Really bringing the energy to you on a rainy Monday morning in Waco, Texas. A Monday morning in which I am also really tired. So, Scotty, I'm going to tag you in and take over the rest of the show. How you feel?
No, thank you.
Pause. Fine. I guess I'll just do it. That is Scotty. He's with us today. We'll have Pete later on in the show. We are recapping a Patriots moral victory. And by that, I mean a Patriots loss. It is still been basically 2 whole seasons since the Patriots have won back-to-back games, which I can remember a time in my childhood that they lost back-to-back games for the first time in like a decade. Yes, I do remember that. But I understand that was a long time ago. This is not the same context we're dealing with right now. But what bugged me about this loss to the Rams was the fact that the Patriots did not lose because their talent sucks. And that's what I should be saying every week. I should be saying, well, the other team, because they play in the NFL and they're more competent than the Patriots, they have more talent. But I don't think that's necessarily what happened yesterday. The Patriots got flat out outcoached, which also shouldn't be a surprise, right? Because we know that Gerard Mayo, at best, at most flattering, is a rookie coach. At worst, he's just not a good NFL coach. And maybe the jury's still out on that because it's midway through year 1. And I'm trying to keep that in mind and remember that. But week after week, the Patriots are getting grossly outcoached. And the big takeaway from me in terms of this outcoaching job is the pressure that the Rams brought all day. For some reason, teams have not blitzed the hell out of the Patriots this year, for the most part. There's been a couple, but I would expect that to be a game plan every game, and it really hasn't. And the Rams said, hey, why don't we try this? You know, they don't have guys that can get open. They still don't have a good offensive line. It might be 29th rather than 32nd, but they still don't have a good offensive line. Let's blitz the ever-loving shit out of them and see what happens. And lo and behold, the Rams get the victory. They do just enough for a team that's been struggling on both sides, offense and defense. Their offense didn't even score a touchdown last week. They looked pretty effortless in their scoring against the Patriots on Sunday. But they had some good, young, athletic guys up front. They said, let's just blitz them. I mean, like, Drake May can make some plays. He can go off script a little bit. Like, we know that. But they've got a terrible offensive line that can't block anybody anyway. And you're going to force them into mistakes. It might not show up in sacks. It might not even show up in turnovers, although one pressure obviously did lead directly to a turnover, the Drake May fumble. But they're going to make mistakes. They're going to blow assignments. They're going to get penalties. And that was something that was the case the whole game for the Patriots, the whole game. And Drake May, I think, once again, is not to blame for this. Thought he had a pretty good showing in this one. He goes 30 of 40 for 282, 2 touchdowns and a pick. Did turn the ball over twice. It's also tough for me to really say, oh, those were egregious bad Drake May turnovers. Unlike the pick he threw last week in Chicago, it's tough for me to blame him for really either one of these. First one is a free hitter. No one blocks this guy. And as soon as Drake is, shifting his focus back towards the middle of the field, he's getting absolutely lit up and the ball comes out. The second one, the game-sealing interception, it would really help if his wide receiver was actually looking for the football. That's all I'll say there. Would have been really, really nice. Clear quarterbacks typically know the playbook better than the receivers do. And when I look at what's going on this season, do you think that's a Drake May problem, or do you think it's a wide receiver from the worst wide receiver room in the league problem? That's all. But maybe I'm being too naive in this. Maybe I am taking, too much off the plate of Drake May and giving him the benefit of the doubt a little bit too much. But thinking that this was not Drake May's fault, I was not the only one to think that, because I saw this tweet yesterday and a link to Boston Sports Journal, Greg Bedard, with the headline, "This should have been Drake May's finest hour, but the Patriots let him down." I don't know how short you think our memories are, Greg, but I remember a month ago, you on the Felger and Maz show, after Gerard Mayo said that exact sentiment, the exact sentiment, after the Patriots lost to the Texans in Drake May's first career start. He said Drake played well. We let him down today. You, Greg Bedard, said this.
How do you feel about that sentiment? We let Drake May down.
Boy, we're going to start with that, huh?
Yeah, let's start with it.
Okay. So I heard it, and it bothered me in the aftermath, and I couldn't figure out why. It didn't sit well with me, and I've thought about it some more, and I think what bothers me about it is, so the Patriots now are just going to be all about Drake May and making him comfortable and not criticizing him, not holding him to account. It's just going to be, they're just going to be like any other team. They're going to be like the Jets who, talk up Zach Wilson and don't talk about, some of his issues.
Yeah, maybe that having a take just for the sake of having a take, the hot take, contrarian angle of this, maybe that came back to bite you in the ass a little bit, Greg, because this was a stupid take to begin with. Game one, you were just hopping all over them for saying that they let the kid down when he threw 3 touchdown passes, and actually showed some semblance of an offense that they had not had all season long. But now, a month later, You're right. It is all the Patriots' fault. It's not Drake May's fault at all. But I thought we were babying him. I thought we were treating him like Zach Wilson. Are we not holding him to account now, Greg? No, because the point is you shouldn't have been from the beginning. He's played well the whole year. But really, it's Drake May and 52 Jags out there. And I guess now Greg Bedard is on that train. And he was going back at people in the comments who were saying, maybe you should apologize then for, shitting on him earlier this year. I never did that. I never said he was Jamarcus Russell in camp, which you did, which was embarrassing. Absolutely embarrassing, but leave that to Greg Bedard, the same guy who said, Patriots fans like this tight end Gronkowski out of Arizona. I don't see it at all. Just classic Greg Bedard being, I'm a bigger football guy than you. I know more football than you. So you're never going to be right. I'm always going to be right. That's classic Greg Bedard playbook. And he just thinks we just forgot what happened a month ago. Because he goes on Felger and Maz and he tries to be Felger. He wants to be Felger and or Maz so bad. And the greatest thrill of his life is going on that show, which, look, great show, big time numbers. That's great for Greg, who, had to start his own Boston Sports Journal because he wasn't getting hired anywhere else. Anyway, that was a classic hot take Greg, who has now completely changed his mind a month later. that in fact, yes, I will now agree with Gerard Mayo in that exact sentiment that the team let him down. And finally, welcome to the right side of history, because this team is letting him down and the head coach is letting him down. And Alex Van Pelt cannot coach outside of the scripted 15 plays, because once again, at the beginning of the game yesterday, I'm thinking, AVP's having a good run here. Good couple of drives to open up this game. Like the balance of this thing, like the plays calling, like getting the ball out of Drake May's hands pretty quick. They score on the second drive, and then they don't make any adjustments. Again, week after week after week. This is Alex Van Pelt's week. On Tuesday or Wednesday, he puts in his 15-play script for the first 2 drives, and then he just fucks off and has a sandwich. That's what he does every week because they never make adjustments. And speaking of not making adjustments, that does not exclude the head coach and the defensive coordinator, those being Gerard Mayo and DeMarcus Covington, because that's a side that does not really make adjustments either. And somehow, some way, the Patriots have one of the best cornerbacks in football, and that coaching staff decides we don't need to put him on Cooper Kupp or Puka Nacua. There are 2 all-pro wide receivers on the other side. We have one of the best corners in the league. Wonder what we could do with this. How about we put Christian Gonzalez on everybody else? What? Whose grand idea was that? Gerard Mayo said after the game, we wanted to put him on the boundary. It worked for us last week. We felt that was the best spot for him. It worked for you last week against Caleb Williams, Matt Eberflus, and that shithead who just got fired as the OC for the Bears. The guy was literally a dead man walking at OC. And once he loses to the Patriots, he's gone. And you think, yeah, let's roll out that again against Sean McVay, Matthew Stafford, Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, and the LA Rams? What? What are we doing here? I'm no football scout, but I might put Christian Gonzalez on one of those guys. Or if not, maybe double team them. Nope. The Patriots didn't double team them all game long. And all that happened between those 2 receivers is they went for 229 yards and 3 touchdowns. And you lost by 6 points. Sounds like you could have made an adjustment there. Like, are you kidding? Cooper Kupp is burning them for 69 yards on the second play of the second half. He's got Marcus Jones on him and Jonathan Jones on him and not Christian Gonzalez. Like, it's incredible. You could pull up any guy off the street in Foxborough and tell you, yeah, I'd probably put Gonzalez on one of them or at some point. He did get matched up for about 10 snaps and gave up, I think, 4 catches. Like, it worked last week. Yeah, this is not Caleb Williams on the other side. This is Matthew Stafford. This is not Matt Eberflus and Waldron whatever. This is Sean McVay. And you think that's just going to work again? You're lucky it was that close. Again, because it's not just out-talented. It's being out-coached at every turn and not making any adjustments. That's why, like, I shouldn't get upset at these Patriots losses, but I do because I just wonder what this team could be with someone like Ben Johnson or Mike Vrabel coaching. Instead, you've got Gerard Mayo, and because apparently the New England Patriots are an entry-level job. You fire the best coach in the history of the league, and you replace him with a guy with no experience. And his only experience is coaching under this guy that you just fired. What did you expect? What did you expect? I know Ben Johnson didn't take an NFL head coaching job this year, and maybe you could argue he was dead set on being the Lions OC another year. But the bottom line is he got interviews at 5 different NFL franchises. 5. The only one with a head coaching vacancy that did not interview him was the New England Patriots. Because Bob Kraft was so inspired by the way Gerard Mayo interacted with adults 5 years ago in Israel that he just promoted him to be the head coach. When does that make sense? Any other team doing that would get absolutely dragged. If the Jets did that, it would just be the same old Jets. Like, name your team, man. We laugh at these teams all the time. And that's what the Patriots are doing right now. That's my biggest concern, is that they do have a franchise quarterback and they just don't know what to do with him the next 5 years. That keeps me up at night. That's why I'm so damn tired today. Oh, it's so beyond frustrating. Because again, you don't have the talent, but you could be a 500 team right now if you had a competent head coach. And someone asked on Twitter, what would the Patriots record be right now if Bill Belichick was the head coach? And it's worth a thought, but someone else had a great response under it. And they said, if Bill Belichick was the coach, Drake May would not be the quarterback. So there's probably something to that. So I don't know how much better it would be, but if you had another competent head coach in here that was not Gerard Mayo, I think you're a 500 team right now. And you're second in the division, for whatever that's worth. But I'm sure many of you out there want the Patriots to just have the number one pick no matter what, which they still are in play for, although it's pretty tight. Those top couple of picks, a lot of teams with 2 wins, 3 wins. They're not going down easily. By the way, I did think this was a good Drake May game. Sean McVay thought this was a good Drake May game as well.
You know, you look at it and you can really see his ability to create off schedule. I thought he did a great job of being able to make plays in the pocket today, extend drives. I thought he was patient, taking some underneath checkdowns where guys were able to create. We had some tighter coverages and he was able to fit the ball into tight windows. So he looks like a stud. You know, I didn't do too much work on him coming out, but I do know that a lot of people that studied him really hard that, that I truly respect their opinions, loved what he was all about. You can see, just the impact that he has on his teammates, the way people talk about him here. He looks like he's going to be a special player for a long time, and he gave us fits.
I think the guy he's talking about, people he respects that are saying great things about him, I think that's Barstool employee John Gruden, by the way. I think that's probably what he's talking about. Yeah, I mean, Drake May did give them some fits and kept the Patriots in this game. How many times have you heard that before? Plus, I love hearing it from a guy that I know to be a competent head coach and a great offensive mind. Cannot say the same about the Patriots head coach. The other thing that really bugged me about this game, outside of the coaching disparity, was how many points the Patriots left on the field. By my count, they left at least 7 points on the field, maybe even 11. Let's break that down. First drive, 3rd down, plus territory. Kayshon Boutte gets it dropped right into his hands, gets both hands on it, but sees that a hit is coming. Unfortunately, remembering that this is the NFL, he knew he could get hit and decided to not catch it instead. Just let it go off both hands and not catch it, which would have gotten them inside the 35-yard line. Therefore, field goal range. That's 3 points. Another one, pretty much same scenario. It's a 3rd and 2. It was in plus territory. First down, keeps you in field goal range. Instead, they commit a false start, which knocks them out of field goal range. Okay, there's 3 more right there. How about late in the game when they get an extra point blocked? Nobody does that anymore. That's because my man Jacobs just did not want to block anybody on point after team in the interior of that line. Just did not block the guy. And that guy, whomever the fuck, blocks the extra point. That's 7 points right there. That's a whole touchdown you've left on the field. A touchdown and an extra point, ironically enough, that you have left on the field. With your talent and your coaching staff, you cannot leave a touchdown on the field. Not in this league, I guarantee you. And I think they left 4 more out there too, because the Patriots were driving when it was a 28-19 game. Because by the way, that missed extra point made a touchdown drive that cut the lead from a 2-score lead to a 2-score lead because you missed the extra point. So the Patriots are marching down the field. They've got like a 13-play drive going. They're going for it on 4th and about a yard, 4th and inches. And they're lining up for a trick play. And our favorite Patriots rookie, Jalen Polk, puts his stamp on the game.
Larger now as we hit the 5-minute mark. And the play clock is down to 0. I wonder if they were trying to set up a direct snap.
Everything in my apartment was not safe when that happened. I was ready to break anything and everything. He is completely fucking useless. Totally useless. Another Patriots second round wide receiver draft pick that has completely been useless. They cut one the other day in Tyquan Thornton, and and Jalen Polk's like, hold my beer. I'm going to go fuck this up for all of us. He couldn't equal the catch total that left tackle Vidarian Lowe had in this game, but he decided that I'm going to make my stamp on the most important play of the game. To be honest with you, why is he even out there on 4th and 1? I know you're running tempo, but A, he sucks at receiver. B, he can't do much as a blocker. And C, it's a running play. And the only thing that can hurt you there is a penalty. And that's exactly what he gives you because he's totally useless. In fact, he is less productive in yards per target and yards per route than Tyquan Thornton or N'Keal Harry or Devin Asiasi. You know, 3 guys who are bound for Canton. They had more productive rookie seasons than Jalen Polk has had. Completely and utterly useless. Like, come on, man. And so now you got to go kick the field goal. So that's 4 points left on the field potentially right there because you were driving. And the Patriots got their ass kicked in short yardage situations in this game at 2 crucial points. They had a 1st and goal inside the 5. They had a 3rd and goal from the 3, and they're trying to run, and it gets stuffed. So then you got to kick a field goal in a game where field goals were not going to win it for you. Instead of just showing some balls and playing aggressive because you have a good young rookie quarterback, you decided to kick the field goal there. And then again, we flash forward to the 4th and 1, getting your ass kicked on short yardage because Jalen Polk has to do whatever that was. And then my personal favorite was a 3rd and 1 in the second half where Matthew Stafford goes for a QB sneak. And my guy, Jeremiah Farms, who had a great game last week, just runs right by the ball carrier. I've never seen anything like it in my life. He literally just runs past him and gives him like a pat on the ass. I couldn't believe it. He wouldn't have even touched Matthew Stafford down if it was 2-hand touch. He just gave him a 1-hand butt slap and just ran out of frame. And they're showing it in super slow-mo, and the commentators just say absolutely nothing. Mark Sanchez, who hasn't had a thought in his head his whole life, and Adam Amin, who would be anywhere else but this game, had no interest in broadcasting this game. They don't say anything. Meanwhile, we're all seeing it as the guy is carrying the ball on a 3rd and 1. A defensive lineman is tapping him on the butt and running to God knows where. But that's this team in 2024. Drake May, week after week, is applying lipstick on a pig. That's all he does now. And I feel for the kid. The other real player they have is Christian Gonzalez. And poor guy is going up against Demarcus Robinson when he should be shutting down Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua. Don't even give him the shot. Oh, they just find something every week for us to get really frustrated at. When they finally showed a really good game plan last week, it turns out it's just that the Bears suck, okay? I think it's just because the Bears are awful. I thought they had a chance in this game. Now, people were really high on that defensive performance last week, and I did warn on this show, Matthew Stafford, a lot different from Caleb Williams, but I thought they had some good matchups here. They didn't even want to use them. As a matter of fact, they might have had good matchups. They just had no interest in using them. Oh. Anyway, Patriots still have the same amount of wins as the Jets because they suck too. Let's talk a little Bruins hockey and an interesting quote from one of their highest paid players. That's next on the Cam Show.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at a stop. I thought I was fine, and then once I got home, I realized it's a lot worse than I thought. I ended up having a ruptured disc You say you're not hurting, and then an hour later you're saying you're in all this pain. I just felt like most people would think that I was lying. That's when I decided to call Daniel Stark. I owe a lot to Daniel Stark. They really got me what I deserved.
The difference is Stark.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level, when we shut down, to afterwards was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning, so we love Extraco.
Welcome to a special edition of the Doomsday Podcast. Look at this. We got one of the great golfers in the world, certainly one of the great pass rushers in NFL history.
But he also had a vision for you. And so it was like you had the best of both worlds, right? You had somebody on you early, and then you had somebody who was maybe more relaxed.
What were a couple of your biggest takeaways? The person you referred to that I spoke with, I've spoken to some personnel people and general managers of the league to get some, independent, objective assessments of the players the Cowboys picked, and we'll go through that. Has the general manager changed at all in the draft room?
Nope, it's been the same since I was here the last time.
I'm just seeing this right now, Scotty. The Baseball Hall of Fame ballot to be voted on in January. You ready for some? I'm just going to give you some quick fire. You can't do any kind of research or anything. Just gut feeling Hall of Famer.
Okay.
You ready for it?
I'm ready.
Okay. Bobby Abreu.
No.
Beltran. Carlos Beltran.
Yes.
Mark Burley.
No.
Carlos Gonzalez.
No.
Curtis Granderson.
No.
Felix Hernandez.
Yes.
Okay. Torrey Hunter.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Adam Jones.
No.
Andrew Jones.
Yes.
Ian Kinsler.
I have to say no, but that one hurts.
Russell Martin.
No.
Brian McCann.
No.
K-Rod. Francisco Rodriguez.
Yes.
Dustin Pedroia.
That one's tough. No.
Andy Pettit.
Yes.
Hanley Ramirez.
No.
Manny Ramirez.
Yes.
Fernando Rodney.
No.
Alex Rodriguez.
Yes.
All right, get 2 steroid guys so far. Jimmy Rollins.
Yes.
Oh, okay. CC Sabathia.
Yes.
Ichiro Suzuki.
Yes.
Troy Tulowitzki.
No.
Chase Utley.
Yeah. Yeah.
Omar Vizquel.
No.
Billy Wagner.
Yeah.
David Wright.
No.
Ben Zobrist.
No. How'd I do?
All right, so what did we have here? I should have kept count. You said Beltran.
Yep.
Felix Hernandez.
Yep.
Torrey Hunter.
Yep.
Andrew Jones.
Yep.
You did not say Brian McCann.
Nope.
You did say Andy Pettit.
I did. Yeah.
Manny Ramirez.
Absolutely.
Alex Rodriguez.
Absolutely.
Did you say K-Rod?
Yeah.
Okay. Jimmy Rollins, you said yes.
Yes.
Sabathia, you said yes. Ichiro, you said yes.
Easy. Ichiro is probably the easiest one on that list.
Chase Utley, you said yes.
Yeah.
You say yes to Wagner too?
Nah, I think I said no to Wagner.
Okay.
Could be wrong. That one's borderline for me. Are you anti-steroid guy in the hall?
I go back and forth on it. I'm mostly no. Mostly I'm an anti guy. I've used the Kirk excuse on this a few too many times, but it's just like I'm okay with the stance like you can't get everything in life. You got all the records and the unbelievable times and all the money, and then you got caught. I'm okay with that. But if someday we just say as a collective, like, okay, you know what? Like I don't think they need their own wing or anything like that. It's just like at some point I think the Hall of Fame is going to be like people are going to be able to look all this stuff up. and formulate their own opinion.
Well, and it's not like,
and I'm okay with that.
It's not like most of these guys had in my opinion, a severe competitive advantage when it was rampant throughout the sport. Like Alex Rodriguez would have been an all-timer anytime.
Maybe.
Like he was an outstanding defensive player most of his career. Like that guy was just crazy.
I look at a guy like Roger Clemens, though, who got a complete second wind on his career.
Yeah.
So the famous quote from Dan Duquette, the old Red Sox GM, when they didn't re-sign him in '96, was they believed he was in the twilight of his career, and he was a 500 pitcher the last, I think, 2 or 3 seasons leading into it, and he had some arm issues, and then he goes to Toronto where he is teammates with Jose Canseco, and all of a sudden he's winning pitching triple crowns and completely has a new wind.
Yeah,
and to your point, it's like, was Roger Clemens still a good pitcher? Yes. You got to have some bite on that split finger for sure. But he was healthy and stronger than ever through a little performance-enhancing drugs. Just a little bit of performance-enhancing drugs. And that gives him another 10 years, really. And 3 Cy Young Awards or so? 4 maybe? I mean, in Houston, he was still a top. I think he won the Cy Young in 2004. Still a top of the line starting pitcher at age 42.
Yeah.
So I look at something like that. And I'm like, now that's interesting because he left the Red Sox with 191 career wins. Obviously, he's going to get more than that no matter what. But does like 200 wins get him in the Hall of Fame? I think it's worth the question. Jimmy Rollins. You were quick with the Jimmy Rollins one.
He's an all-timer to me, man. He's an all-timer.
But see, the thing that I'm going to get concerned about is if they don't ever relent on the steroid guys, which could be possible. This is baseball after all.
Yeah.
They might never relent on that. Then like we are in the stretch of like, who are you going to put in? Like, is that going to mean that someone like, David Wright gets in?
Right.
Because you've just watered this whole thing down? Like 10 years ago, guys like Curtis Granderson and Ben Zobrist and Troy Tulowitzki would not even be on the ballot.
Sure.
And no huge disrespect. I mean, some of those guys had some good careers. Or Carlos Gonzalez had some good years. But Troy Tulowitzki being on the ballot, Russell Martin, Brian McCann, like, come on. Those are nice players. Who are you going to put on? Nick Markakis next? Jeff Francoeur? Like, what is next? Man, you know who should get more Hall of Fame consideration than Troy Tulowitzki? Michael Young. Michael Young should get more consideration than Tulowitzki.
I'll say amen.
And I'll say that to Russell Martin too. And maybe even Ian Kinsler. Another Ranger.
I think most Rangers fans would agree with you that Michael Young is on the Mount Rushmore of Texas Rangers players. And Kinsler,
probably.
Kinsler's a great.
I did realize the other day that this does tie back to Boston because it's the anniversary of the Pedro trade. And I'll talk about Pedro whenever I can. The Rangers had 3 different MVPs in a 8-year stretch, 6-year stretch.
There was
2 by Juan Gone.
Mm-hmm.
So 4 MVPs total by 3 different guys. Pudge was 99, beat out Pedro.
Yep.
Great Pudge year, shouldn't have happened. And A-Rod in 03 or 02, whatever one it was.
Mm-hmm.
First guy to win MVP for a last place team. Don't mean to bring up some old wounds, but
it's okay. I was like 9 and 10 years old as these things were happening, and it was just fun to watch those guys hit.
Like Michael Young is better, has a better case than, I don't know, a third of the guys on the list I just gave you.
Yeah.
In fact, I would say his case is not all that much, just from what I remember. Now,
where is he all time in hits?
I don't know.
Because he reached a big, he doesn't have any stat that just jumps.
He didn't get to 3,000, which would have gotten him in.
He has a ton of hits. I'm curious now.
I mean, if he gets 3,000 hits, he basically has the same career as Craig Biggio. I don't think he's a Hall of Famer, but that goes to say, like, I think he's got a better case than some of these guys out here. Like Jimmy Rollins, from what I remember, it's just Michael Young with an MVP. He's a good defender, too. He's a good defender.
He had 2,375 hits.
2,300?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And career.
So not as many as Johnny Damon.
Career 300 batting average.
It's not bad. It's a good, solid team Hall of Fame guy.
I mean, he is like the Rangers are the only baseball team I've ever followed religiously, and he's on the Mount Rushmore for Texas Rangers. Like, I think
Who else would be on that?
Pudge.
Okay.
Most people would probably say Nolan Ryan. And then,
figurehead, though.
And probably Adrian Beltre.
Okay, so all of the last 30 years. You're not putting Jim Sundberg on there.
Great shout
No
out.
Buddy Bell.
Great shout out, but no. maybe I'm playing the young.
No two-time MVP Juan Gonzalez.
Yeah, no.
Bad postseason year. Zach saying Fergie Jenkins.
Zach, you can come over here and give your take.
So that is, you know what that would be, though? That would be Nolan Ryan in a sense, but Fergie Jenkins is Canadian and Nolan Ryan's a Texan. I mean, he did throw a no-hitter with the Rangers. Yeah, that's fine.
Granted,
but Nolan Ryan is just like this.
The Rangers Mount Rushmore of baseball is not going to look as good as.
And you know what I thought was funny too about Nolan Ryan is, I just always know Nolan Ryan as Texan, right? And that he does have this big foothold with the Rangers. Obviously, he helped run them when they went to the World Series.
Yep.
So there was a big part of that when I was growing up. And then I came to Texas, and all I could hear about was how he was from Alvin. Alvin's in Houston. This man, and he played for the Astros. I'm not saying it's stolen valor, but it's just this idea that like he's so true Texan, and he is, but he was born in the Houston area and played for the Astros first.
What, almost 3 times as long with Houston?
Yeah, probably.
He was with
had some really good years with the Astros.
A long time.
Almost got them to the World Series. So I just think that's kind of funny. And to be fair to Nolan, for a while he didn't really do much. He didn't do anything with the Astros. He did it with the Rangers.
Yeah,
front office stuff. Anyway, Mount Rushmore for the Red Sox, since you asked, would be also Adrian Beltre. Who could forget 2010? 30 homers, the Red Sox. Adrian Gonzalez, sure, absolutely. Louis Tiant, for how much we talk about him on the show. And, didn't really get a shine with the Red Sox, but was the number one prospect of baseball with them, Carl Pavano. Carl Pavano and Tony Armas Jr. 27 years ago today for Pedro Martinez. I'd say the Red Sox won that trade. I would say the Red Sox won that trade. I did want to get to one quote about the Bruins, but honestly, the Baseball Hall of Fame talk, I love it, man. It's one of my favorite topics ever. In fact, I will be doing my research this week why don't we fill out ballots?
That sounds fun.
Why don't we fill out ballots this week?
Everybody
There's
in the
4
room
of us
right now?
in this room. I think we could throw Mike a bone too. He doesn't give a shit about baseball. But it would be funny. It would be funny. He probably knows as much as Pete does. Well, I'll fill out a ballot because I do that. I kind of do this in my head every year of like who I would vote for if I had X amount of votes. And I get bogged down in these things. Like I am one of those guys who thinks like, oh, this guy's a Hall of Famer, but he's not a first ballot Hall of Famer, which is not a great way to think, I'll admit. It's like using the excuse like, oh, there are better guys than this in the Hall of or worse guys than this in the Hall of Fame. I'm like, well, that's not a great excuse. That just because you made a mistake once doesn't mean you should make it again. Like Jimmy Rollins probably is just as good as Phil Rizzuto.
So can I ask you this? Because I made a claim. I think the guy that is the easiest yes on here is Ichiro.
Yeah.
Who would you say is the easiest? You don't even think about it. Okay. Yeah.
And it's too bad that we didn't get to see more of his career. I didn't think he was going to get to 3,000 hits because he started so late. Came in at 27, 28. Could you do me a favor, Scotty, real quick? That Baseball Reference comparison tool? Let's do Phil Rizzuto side by side with Jimmy Rollins as I talk about this Bruins point. Elias Lindholm, who has sucked, admitted that he sucked in the media yesterday. He said, what needs to get better with this team? And he said, well, first off, I need to get better. I can't really criticize my teammates until I get better because I've sucked too. I'm getting $8 million a year because the Bruins just desperately wanted a center and they didn't think we need offense. We need a great player. They just said, we need a center. So he went out and got Elias Lindholm, and he stunk. Phil Rizzuto, which Billy Madison could not spell in cursive on the chalkboard in Veronica Vaughn's class. What would have happened to Veronica Vaughn? What's she up to these days?
She married Pete Sampras.
She married Pete Sampras?
Yeah, the actress did.
I didn't know that.
Okay.
She still got it, you think?
So to answer your comparison question,
Yeah, let's do this. Let's do this.
Phil Rizzuto has Jimmy Rollins beat in batting average and on-base percentage. Jimmy Rollins has him beat in every other statistical category.
So to be fair, there are a lot of counting
one
stats in there.
MVP. They both have one MVP.
Yep, 1950 and
Rizzuto
2007.
has 5 All-Stars compared to 3 for Rollins, but Rollins has 4 Gold Gloves. So pretty good.
So Rollins has got all the counting stats.
Yes.
Which I do lean more towards percentage stats, which Rizzuto has
Hey,
too.
I'll give you
But
this.
that means Rollins has better slugging, OPS, WAR,
Yes.
OPS plus,
And 470 stolen bases
for Rollins.
Yeah.
How many for Rizzuto?
149.
Rizzuto is just an okay player, but he played on arguably some of the best teams ever. Ever.
Yeah, 8 championships is the number at the bottom. That's large.
What's the I mean, that's it. That's it right there. What's the WAR matchup?
42.2 for Rizzuto, 47.6.
Okay, so pretty close.
Jimmy Rollins.
Pretty close.
Similar player. I mean, they're similar players.
I mean, both played for good teams their whole career. I mean, Rizzuto was drastically better team.
But Rollins, I mean, the hitting stats too aren't particularly close. I mean, Rollins has 1,000 more hits.
1,000 more hits.
200 more home runs.
And that used to really mean something.
400 more RBIs.
How many hits does Phil Rizzuto have?
1,588.
What? No way.
I'm reading off the chart, my guy.
1588.
That's what it says. Rollins has.
This has always been a mistake. It has now turned into a travesty that this guy's in the Hall of Fame. I mean, come on. 1,588 hits because he played for a lot of World Series teams and has a funny last name. Are you kidding me? That is some incredible Yankee bias there. Dissolve the Veterans Committee. We're done with the Veterans Committee, okay? This is something I bang on the door of every single year. We're done with the Veterans Committee. The Vets Committee comes in basically to get the Negro League guys into the Hall of Fame as they should be, and they're all there now. Okay, and you got some of the overlooked guys, but now you're putting in Phil Rizzuto, you're putting in Ray Schalk, you're putting in some of the worst Hall of Famers in Cooperstown now, and they have been for the last 20 years. Okay, you've done your job. You've got Josh Gibson and Satchel Paige and Buck O'Neil. You've got those guys in there. It's done. If you had a 20-year run that you couldn't get in, 15 on the ballot and the 5 building up to it, if you couldn't get into the Hall of Fame, I'm sorry. Too bad. So sad. You're not in the Hall of Fame. But now we're going to keep it alive because 30 years from now, they're going to put in the steroid guys and they're going to swallow their pride, and that's whatever. But we're done with the Veterans Committee because guys like Phil Rizzuto get in because, he was the scooter. You guys remember he was the scooter. He was so smooth at shortstop, and how it sounded with the crack of the bat. It's all bullshit. It's all bullshit. It's just writers who like talking to the guy 50 years before. Oh, what a joke. I did not think Jimmy Rollins would set me off on this. I mean, at this rate, Jimmy Rollins is a first ballot Hall of Famer compared to Phil Rizzuto, a guy at the same position. I mean, come on. 1,588 hits. Like, I know hits are not what they used to be. Like, first off, it's double-sided here. So we don't weigh them the way we used to, but they used to weigh them pretty tough when Phil Rizzuto was there. And now when they're watered down, you look at that and you're like, that's still not good enough to make it in the Hall of Fame. You can't make it in the Hall of Fame today with 1,588 hits. Maybe if you're a pitcher. I mean, come on, dude. That's terrible. Oh, what a joke. Get rid of the vets committee. I can't wait for Hall of Fame ballot. I might go and find out who the actual worst Hall of Famers are, because I'll bet there are some that are even worse than Rizzuto, to be totally honest with you. I think Ray Schalk might be one too. And there's actually a Baylor alum who's not a very strong case to be in the Hall of Fame, but he is in the Hall of Fame. Anyway, let's keep out for that the next couple of weeks. Pete Souza is back, and he is on next on the Cam Show.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at 70 miles an hour. I was injured, had a concussion. The insurance company, they delayed. They were playing games from the initial conversation. They weren't going to help me. The biggest thing I learned through this is that you can't go through this alone. I called Daniel Stark. They were going to help me, and everything was going to be all right. Daniel Stark got me 10 times the insurance company offered.
The difference is stark.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference, because my stress level when we shut down to afterwards was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning, so we love Extraco.
It is Matt Mosley, and it's the Obstructed View podcast, Rogue Media Network. I think they're learning that there's really no wonderful view of me. See, I feel like they think this feed's going to be really wonderful.
There must have been no BS, like 20 scouts, 15 to 20 NBA scouts there to see him, and he was top 5.
When your old number wasn't working, I went through various channels to track you down. So unfortunately, you can never get away from me, but I'm happy to have you today.
Nah, thanks for having me, and you know we always family no matter where I'm at.
I mean, yeah, a new coach comes in, they're going to turn the roster. I think that's just we've got all these transfer portal stats and what Dion did and what Fritz has done. I mean, that's the deal, man. That's the game that's being played nowadays.
Maybe a little bit unknown at quarterback. I mean, unknown to the rest of the world, but you know, he dove into the portal and got a guy who is super, super athletic.
South Dakota State's really good. Give us a little bit of breakdown about what they can do and what Oklahoma State needs to be worried about.
But look at that form right there. I need to say nothing else about this because I found one.
This is huge, Pete. FAU is expected to fire Tom Herman, former UT coach, which is big because now all 4 Division I football programs, with their mascot being the Owls, will have fired their coach this season.
Rice, Temple,
FAU.
FAU. Is there another one?
Yes.
Who?
I believe there's 4. Dude, I don't know.
No.
I just saw that stat yesterday that 3 of the 4 had already fired their coach.
I can't believe
Look out,
Tom Herman's getting fired already.
Yeah.
I remember
Kennesaw State. That's right, because they're now FBS.
I
Good
remember
pull, Scotty. The guy that got him there. They just said, "All right, we're good."
So 2 years, Tom Herman gets fired.
I guess. Yeah, I was thinking it was pretty quick.
It was 2 years. He was calling games.
I think it's the facial hair. I think
on
that's
CBS.
I think that's what they're having a problem with.
Seemed like last week. Wow, that's fast. There's more to that situation than we know, I'm sure.
I think FAU is in a spot right now as an athletic department where they're like ready to invest too. You're seeing that with basketball. They made the Final Four and obviously lost their coach, went out and got John Jacobs. I think they're just kind of ready to invest more. Not that that's like a great excuse, but that's probably one of those situations.
You and Mosley love Jacobs.
I'm a big I've always been a big Jacobs guy before I was a Mosley guy, actually. Love Jacobs' offense.
How does Mosley become friends with those guys?
I don't know.
Good friend of mine, John Jacobs.
I don't know. He finds them somewhere.
He does. He's a charmer.
Yeah. But he doesn't, it's not like he's at practices or anything. None of us are. You know what I mean?
No, yeah.
So I don't know. He kind of finds them.
Yeah.
Dude, you know what I watched this weekend, Pete?
What?
You're going to love this. There's no way you'll guess this, but you're going to love this. So for some reason, and this happens to me every couple of months, I get really hung up on the 1993 Maine Black Bears hockey team. which is the greatest college hockey team of all time.
Yeah.
And just like every couple months, I'm like back in the cycle, and I watch the highlights. And there's this on YouTube, this 10-part documentary on that season. But what I mean by 10 parts is like 7-minute videos or whatever, into 10 videos, and it's narrated by Gary Thorne.
Oh, no
which
way!
is so awesome.
So did like SNY do it?
No, it was someone like local.
Okay.
It was some like production company, but Gary Thorne went to UMaine.
Oh, okay.
And so it starts with him outside the Alfond Arena, and he's like, "Hi, I'm Gary Thorne." I can't really do much of a Thorne impression, but he's like, "I called my first ever hockey game right here at the Alfond Arena in 1979," and I was like, "This rocks. this rocks, man!" And it's so funny because like, it feels like there's so much media being made about like the Celtics team. And there's like, I don't know, the Celtics and the NBA will do like this kind of all access thing throughout the postseason, and then they'll put it together. But you don't have the championship DVD anymore.
Yeah.
And that's essentially what this is.
Yeah.
And like, I love that. I just got down this rabbit hole. I watched another one that they had on Maine that year. I watched the 95 BU Terriers national championship one.
My favorite, my
man.
favorite highlight video of all time is the 86-87 Flyers. It's called Blood, Sweat, and Cheers.
All
and
right. And they all had great titles like that.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it is a masterpiece. It's a masterpiece. Like it could have won a fucking Oscar. It was really, really well done. So I know where you're coming from. I was raised on those, greatest moments in Philadelphia sports history. I can still quote like so many, because you didn't have all that stuff. Like, you'll enjoy this. Fred Shero was the Flyers coach, and Bobby Clark, his quote was, Shero's theory was, take the fastest road to the puck and arrive in ill humor. I love that.
That is classic.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, there's so much
like the
great
drama
stuff.
of the writing in these are just incredible.
Yes.
Just incredible.
I was raised on NFL films, like Super Bowl highlights would run 24 hours, those half-hour shows leading into Super Bowls.
I used to do that with the World Series ones.
Yeah, and so as a kid,
on MLB Network,
I would sit there and eat cereal with like way too much sugar, starting at like 2 a.m., watching those Super Bowl highlights into the day of the Super Bowl.
No wonder you worked overnight.
Yeah, I love the Super Bowl and the Super Bowl hype because of that. Yeah, I love that shit. Yeah.
I was just thinking, this is random, but Bobby Clark had, I think, the best quote about Bobby Orr, because Bobby Clark himself was a 2-time MVP and Stanley Cup champion, like very good player, like first ballot Hall of Fame player.
Diabetic.
And yes, also that, Pete. Yes. And he said the first time we saw Bobby Orr, we were on the bench and we said, this guy's too good. He's got to be in one league higher than this. And I'm like, that is like the ultimate compliment. Like the highest league in the world is not good enough for him. Like, he's so good.
Bobby Clark was amazing.
Needs to be in one league higher than this.
And that's why that was the beauty of the Broad Street Bullies, because they had this weapon who was Bobby Clark, and they really did have these enforcers surrounding him. He wasn't the enforcer. He would mix it up. But
yeah, he could mix it up.
Yeah, but he was flanked by these bruisers who really made a name for themselves.
And he looked the part.
Yeah. He didn't have teeth and shit. It's
Yeah.
awesome. It was awesome.
Oh, man. That HBO documentary is a good one.
Yes.
Broad Street Bullies.
The Spectrum.
It was the building of the team. And
the building
the
of the
parade
Spectrum.
on opening night that nobody went to.
Look at you. Yeah.
Yeah, man. I mean, I hate the Flyers, but I did like that documentary. I think Ed Snyder's a good enough guy.
Well, he's dead now, but he was a great guy. I worked for him.
Yeah.
When he owned
With
the Sixers.
Yeah.
And I remember we were in the middle of a recession. It was like 2008, and he still gave everybody $100, which was like people were getting fired all over the place. And I remember being like,
that's a nice gesture.
And everybody, I mean, like Comcast Spectacor is a huge company, and he gave everybody $100. I remember thinking, like, that's pretty cool, like tip of the cap. And it was cash,
42-1-2. 93 Black Bears. Like unbelievable, man. They were
lost two
so
games.
Good. They tied 2 games.
Okay, 42.
They lost one game. They
game.
lost to BU 7-6 in overtime in Orono. That was a great game. Dude, I'm such a sucker for BU Maine in the 90s. Like just the two powers of the East. And I can't help it. So I grew up like these are the 2 teams I have like no real tie to that I'm into. So I grew up a BU fan for no real reason. I liked BU. And
Well, you lived in Boston.
Yeah, but I didn't pick BC. And like I was way into it. I used to go to the Beanpot all the time. Loved going to the games at the Agganis Arena. Went to the Frozen Four when it was in Boston and BU was there. I still watch BU games sporadically, but I put on my jersey and everything. So I was like a big BU guy growing up, and I always had a soft spot for Maine, and I don't really know why. Bill and I used to go up to Brunswick every year, Brunswick, Maine, to go see Bowdoin play, his alma mater, D3. And so there's a ton of Black Bears fans everywhere, man. And I knew about the tradition. I loved the uniforms. I knew about some of the players that have played there, but they were not good when I was growing up. Like in high school or anything, they were not good. In fact, last year was the first time they made the tournament like 15 years. And they're good again. They're a top 10 team, which is awesome, man. Because that's an awesome state and they deserve it. And so I go back and look at some of the things they did in the 80s and the 90s. They were fucking unbelievable. They were unbelievable. Paul Correa, his freshman year at Maine, 93, 100 points in 45 games.
What other NHL
As a
guys?
freshman, you'll remember Garth Snow.
Sure, the goalie.
He was the goalie on that team in 93. He and Mike Dunham switched off, and actually Garth Snow went into the national championship game in the 3rd period.
Wow.
So yes, he was a big one. Flyer, great. Scott Pellerin won the Hobie Baker. Jimmy Howard was a goalie for they've had a lot of goalies. Goalie for the Red Wings for years. Jeremy Swayman, the current Bruins goalie, is a Maine Black Bear. Jeremy Roenick's brother, Trevor Roenick, played there. Paul Correa would be the big one. Paul
Correa was awesome. He was a San Jose Shark, right?
At one point at the end of his career, yeah.
Okay.
He was mostly an Anaheim Mighty Duck.
Sorry, he was a Duck. That's it. Yeah, because I remember playing with him, playing NHL hockey with him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Duck and Av, a Pred, and a Maine Black Bear. But I went back and watched it, man. So in the national championship game, because I know you're really into this.
I love this shit.
In the national championship game, they're playing Lake Superior State, which is just an awesome college hockey matchup, Maine versus Lake State.
In the national champion, where's Lake Superior State?
It's in Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken. Scotty, can we double check where Lake Superior State is? I believe it is in the UP. And they had an excellent team. They had just won it in 92. So defending champs, Lake State, against this all-time great team in Maine. And Maine scores the first 2 goals of the game. The Lakers score the next 4. And they're down 4-2 going into the 3rd period. Like, it's the dream is dying on the vine.
Yes.
And Jim Montgomery, you might know him as the Bruins coach who's about to get fired any day now. The captain of that team, also a Hobie Baker finalist, goes in the locker room and he says, guys, we're not losing this game. We're going to come back and we're going to win this game. And Jim Montgomery pulls out one of the great all-time clutch performances in the history of any level of hockey, because in the national championship game, down by 2 goals, all he does is score a hat trick in the 3rd period, and they win their first ever national championship. This is the same guy who almost became the first coach to blow 3-1 series leads in consecutive years. Almost. Who pulled off one of the great clutch feats in college hockey history as a player. Did we get confirmation on that, Scotty? Sault Ste. Marie, Upper Peninsula. Dude, I could do that.
Upper Peninsula of Michigan.
I could totally be like their play-by-play guy.
Traverse City.
Sure.
That's where Jim Nagy's from.
I could totally be the play-by-play guy for something like that. In fact, outside
Why
of play-by-play.
have you not done hockey play-by-play?
Where?
Figure it out, Cam.
You're the one who's like, don't leave, don't move away from Texas.
Well,
but
you
also,
shouldn't. I
I've
was
not done
even
any
thinking
hockey.
on the way over
I've
here.
done 2 Baylor Club hockey games.
I think your relationship with Grace is doing so well now because you're not around her every day. So you should probably ride it out.
It's pretty good when I'm
because I called my significant other who I was with on the way over.
Thankful for the time away.
Oh no! Yeah, she's always thankful. No, but I was like, gosh, I miss her already. But it's nice to go back and forth, at least for now.
Yeah, I guess I don't have that luxury though.
You should do hockey, Cam.
I want to, man. It's tough. It's tough to do. It's probably I'm not great at it, but I want to get better at it. I was thinking the other day about play-by-play jobs, like dream jobs, and obviously any of the Boston ones are right up there, right? But like outside of that, what would it be? And I thought of 2 college jobs because I was thinking about this Maine hockey thing. So I was like, Maine hockey would be pretty cool because I like Maine a lot, like the state. And the other would be Duke basketball.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be unbelievable.
That would be amazing.
That'd be unbelievable. Anyway, Pete, what's your favorite college hockey team of all time? If you had to pick one.
I don't have one.
If you had to
I mean,
pick
I
one.
absolutely do not have one. It'd be a fraud if I picked one. I'm refusing. I'm doing the Darby Brown. I don't pick scores.
You should pick 93 Maine. 93 Maine, baby. 42-1-2.
I know there was like some of those Beanpot games were amazing.
Oh, I missed that. That is like a top 3 thing I miss about Massachusetts. My family, pumpkin bread, and the Beanpot.
Beanpot's amazing.
Oh, it was great. It was always so late. Like they would get, like the first game would be played at 5 and it would go into overtime. So the second game wouldn't start till 8:30 and that would go into overtime. Oh, it was freaking awesome. It was so awesome. Tough to buy a ticket. I can't even imagine what it's like now, which is really unfortunate if it's tough. But that'll probably be one of the first things I do if and when I move back.
Well, the good news, they won't have to worry about me trying to get a ticket. I can promise you.
Wow, I'm sure that's really going to help them sleep at night.
I don't give a shit.
Pete Souza, 1 o'clock. Pete Souza show.
I'll make you give a promise. There'll be no talk about the 93 Maine Black Bears unless Cam brings it up in his.
I'm going to bring it up.
No, you won't.
I drunk ordered.
No, you won't. Because guess what? Yesterday morning, I went out and I listened to your Locked On Baylor post game. And not only was I so excited about the present, Cam, you got me so excited about the future. So that's pretty cool.
That's a tease.
Yeah.
That's a tease right there. I'm sure you'll hear some more. You'll hear some more. You'll hear some more of that on the Pete Souza show. I did drunk order a Paul Correa Maine hockey jersey at about 2:30 a.m. on Saturday.
Did you?
Yeah. And it was expensive and it's going to take 2 months. And I still had the wherewithal to give them Grace's address. And I have way too many jerseys, and I'm going to know that this week when I'm packing everything up, but I don't regret it. I don't regret it. I will wear that as much as I can. Anyway, Pete, at 1, I'll be on there, I guess.
Yeah, oh yeah, I need
Scotty,
you.
he'll be here with us in Pete's show too.
You're a
and then
huge
every
guest
show after
today.
that. Thank you, Pete.
Yeah.
And thank you. Like, subscribe.
Second
do all
segment.
that shit. We'll see you tomorrow, high noon Eastern time, live, 11 a.m. Central. We'll be there.
You are here with your shoot first point guard, Corey Dickman.
Also, if you're not creating new fans in a small market, then you're not creating that base of people to go to games and pay for merchandise and pay for stuff and concessions at the Moda Center and yada yada.
Yeah, let's talk draft. That's the only thing we have to look forward to.
The only thing we have to look forward to. That's what I will teach my son. You will teach your daughter as Blazers fans. It's like, look, the 2 most exciting times of the year for us are the draft lottery and the draft itself. Like, here we are. This is our thing. Give me some memories and thoughts. I know you had mentioned kind of the first time you had met Bill. What were some of those first memories that came back when you heard the news?
Coming up on the Pete Souza Show, Rogue Media and ESPN's own King McClure talks to us about the NBA draft.
The team is banged
Are
up
you
a
getting
bit.
undressed while we're doing this?
No.
What is happening?
And it's partially because the team has like pretty kind
Wrong
of big problems.
podcast, Mick. Wrong podcast. When you're a golfer What is the point of no return? He was the best play-by-play announcer around, in my opinion, and he made me want to continue to watch.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level, when we shut down, to afterwards was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning, so we love Extraco.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at a stop. I thought I was fine, and then once I got home, I realized it's a lot worse than I thought. I ended up having a ruptured disc. You say you're not hurting, and then an hour later, you're saying you're in all this pain. I just felt like most people would think that I was lying. And that's when I decided to call Daniel Stark. I owe a lot to Daniel Stark. They really got me what I deserved.
The difference is stark.
We are Rogue Media Sports.